proposed cuts to the Essex Fire and Rescue Service. Currently we have 2 full-time pumps at both Grays and Alsip and 2 that are retained pumps at Corringham. On-call pumps are staffed by firefighters who have other full-time jobs, and if they're not available, this can mean that the pumps are unavailable. To be an on-call firefighter, you must either live or work within a 5-minute drive from the fire station, and it also takes 21 on-call firefighters to crew 2 pumps. There are 3 options that the fire service are going to go to consultation with the public on. Option 1 would mean that Alsip would lose a full pump, Grays would lose a full pump, and Corringham would lose a retained pump. Option 2, Alsip would lose a full pump and Corringham would lose a retained pump, on-call pump. Option 3 would see Alsip lose their full-time pump, Grays would lose a full-time pump. Also with option 3, Brentwood's full-time pump will be removed and replaced with an on-call pump. These options would cut the cover in Thurrock by 30 to 50%. Also, on the ground that Grays and Alsip cover, there's a total of 25 high-rise flats. 5 floors or more is classified as a high-rise, and the standard response for an incident in the high-rises are 4 pumps plus the area platform ladder. If these cuts go ahead, then Thurrock will not have the capability to respond to such an incident. Also in Thurrock, we have more coma sites than the whole of Hertfordshire. That's where Bunsford occurred. We've got 9 higher tier coma sites and 2 lower tier coma sites. These cuts in their present form will have a big impact on all the residents in Thurrock. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
To my own colleagues on the Fire Authority, there is you can't live forever with the same number of firefighters. They look at the numbers of how many calls. You've just heard the Chief of Police say that there's like a minuscule number compared to the amount of calls the police do per day. That's changing drastically over 30 years. We really remember 30 years ago weekly seeing the fire engines running past and seeing a fire. Now the fire safety has moved on immense amounts. The commercial buildings now all have sprinklers. You don't see these huge commercial building fires now. When you do see them, everyone calls resources. This is the problem. We can't keep public bodies in perpetuity the same size. This is not about cuts as in austerity. Austerity's brought this on, just like the police, but it's actually made sure that public servants think about the money that our taxpayers are using. Now there has got to be based on fact. Now, if there's fact that it's actually going to work and it's going to reduce the times or it's going to high risk, I will agree with you. But at the moment, I can't see any facts that it shows that there's a risk. And if I can't see a risk, why do we have to just put this out there and just blame cuts? Like the one cut I do agree with is get rid of the Fire Authority. It's rubbish, it's terrible, it's not done anything, delivery of anything properly. We've got now a minister who took the Fire Authority's obviously been put out, so we can now talk about moving that over to the police and crime commissioner. That's a cut I wouldn't mind. That would save a great deal of money. And that's what now we've got. The Fire Authority, the fire has been moved in central government to the Home Office. So the same minister is looking after the Home Office, is the police and fire minister now. And in fact, he's actually an old firefighter of Thurrock. So if you can't you can't tell him that what's going on in Essex is just he doesn't know. He bloody knows. Sorry. Yeah, knows what's happening in Essex. He's lived here, worked here, and fought here in 2001. So we've got the cut. I will agree is the Fire Authority should go. We should actually then think seriously about what happens, and we should also consider, which we didn't hear today, the change. I go to that huge place on the A12, and then the huge place in the police have got. It's ridiculous to have these massive buildings. And then there's still no conversations really going on because the Fire Authority thinks we've got to stay the same. They can't stay the same. We must change and change. And I don't support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor.
It's not clear to me quite what's going on here. Am I to be left in my ward with 3 very large tower blocks without any cover, any sort of ladder that can assist in the fire? Or are we going to have that facility withdrawn. Can that just be made clear to me?
Any councillor?
Need to be based on empirical analysis of the need required locally. The real issue I have with this motion, C, that Councillor Stone wrote, asking the fire service to consider expanding fire cover in Thurrock. Well, what does expansion mean? By how much? How much extra do you want? How are we going to pay for it? If we're going to pay for a certain provision of one thing, do we have to cut something else? What is required? I just don't consider that a responsible motion. One thing that Councillor Jones said to me that I take on board, that he's got the fire service coming to his committee in March, and Councillor Jones did say he would use his discretion as chair to allow members who were concerned to come to his committee and question the fire service. I will do that as a member for Homesteads, because I believe that is the right and responsible thing to do. You hold people to account, you hear what the factual analysis is, and you take action. You don't randomly vote in favour. And that's one of the reasons I asked the police representatives here this evening a question, because there is scope for the police and fire authority to work together and to work smarter. I mean, Councillor Cottrell is right, they have got this glorious palace on the Kelvedon. There has to be scope there for efficiencies. So, am I telling Councillor Stone that he's always going to be wrong? No, of course I'm not. But I'm saying that this is not a factual analysis. This is just an attempt to hold on to an outdated model. I urge all members, abstain on this. Get rid of it. Throw it out tonight. Go to Councillor Jones' meeting in March and question the fire authority and demand that they tell you how are they going to change, how are they innovating. You've heard the police say use of technology, better working methods. The police are innovating. How are the fire authority going to do the same thing? And I think for a fire authority that's presided over, who report about their internal culture that they have, which was a disgraceful report, then quite possibly it is time we start talking about the end of fire authorities altogether.
Here.
Well, we have a requisition vote. I make a statement. Thank you. Madam Mayor, I listened very carefully to what Councillor Cottrell said. I always listen carefully to Councillor Cottrell.
You have to.
And you have very little option, that's quite right. Councillor Cottrell said that he has made himself clear even to his colleagues on this issue. Is that right?
Yes.
I think that's right. The question does arise just where and how he's made himself clear even to his colleagues on this issue. When this issue was debated at the Fire Authority on the 13th of this month, Councillor Cottrell wasn't there. Councillor Cottrell wasn't at the Fire Authority meeting in October, and he wasn't at the Fire Authority meeting in September. In fact, at the time that Councillor Cottrell has been a member of the Fire Authority, he has managed to go to the Palace in Kelvedon once out of 7 meetings that he has been asked to attend. Madam Mayor, I think that is a pretty woeful performance. So before I listen to Councillor Cottrell saying the Fire Authority should go, I suggest he goes to the Fire Authority.
Rather disgraceful comments and speeches from the Conservative Party opposition, and quite frankly, after listening to the Conservative Party at the residents' meeting last Saturday, trying to hoodwink people that seem to say things are getting better, dropping their police colleagues in it up to their neck. Now we've got this. Now, what are we supposed to do? Start booking when we're going to have accidents on the road, or when we're going to have fires, or when someone's going to need the emergency services? It's just not good enough. And I blame the Conservative Party and the membership for allowing this to happen, where our public services aren't there to be run as a business. They're there to protect and serve the people that come here in this chamber, for example, the people that are in Thurrock. Not to try and save money left, right and centre. They're there to use the money, spend the money and look after us. Make sure that if our families need recover through the emergency services, we've got the personnel. Madam Mayor, we have got an expanding borough, and members of the planning committee, for example, will know that some of the size of the planning applications that are live at this current time, such as the one down by the Homesteads ward, for example, 750. You're looking at that, you're probably looking at around about 1,500 members of the public that will be going there if it is granted planning permission. There are another large one in East Tilbury, for example. The railway crossing is shut on numerous times. How are you supposed to protect our public? And you've got people saying that what they've got at the moment is far too much. I say that we look after our public services, because once they're gone, they'll never come back. And our residents will never forgive us.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Colloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And earlier on this evening, we heard from our colleagues from the police service about the unique nature of the area that we live in. A couple of minutes ago, we adopted the report from Deputy Mayor Councillor Cathy Kent in relation to the Fire Authority's report. But let's have a little look at the uniqueness of our area and why we should support this motion. We've got 2 tunnels, 1 million vehicles a day coming through, high-rise buildings, a suspension bridge, fuel dumps, the largest retail park in Europe, the most congested motorway network probably in Europe. We've got an agricultural area in this area, and we've also got 2 ports and 2 railway hubs. Now, from my point of view, I think that we, as a council, everyone in this council, irrespective of their political allegiance, has got a duty of care to its residents in this borough, and for us to sit back, abstain or vote against what is right in looking after our people, I think is absolutely wrong. Forget about the business and finance. Do we only build statistics on a fire that's actually killed someone or burnt someone down, or do we send out a message that we're going to try as best as we can to keep people safe, and that is shoring up our fire service? And I turn around to everyone in this chamber and say I wouldn't want it on my conscience to have voted for this and something happens as a result of it. No further comments, Madam Mayor.
It's now 9:25. Do members wish to raise standing orders or move straight to the requisition vote? I've got another 4 people that will be active, 4 people that want to speak. So what do you want to do?
Suspend standing orders.
If there are only 4 people left to speak, can I suggest that we move standing orders for a total of 10 minutes, so it's 21:40.
Okay. Councillor Kerry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will of course be supporting this motion. I do acknowledge the contribution from the opposition about advances in fire protection and prevention, but I just can't take a chance on our fire service, and the nature of it is that it responds to emergencies and unforeseen events. You can't predict when it's going to happen, and in particular as a ward councillor for here, Grays Riverside, where we're sat, just either side of us, there's 6 big tower blocks there that need this cover. So I have no hesitation in backing Councillor Stone's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Stone, for bringing the motion to Council. The motion itself is not a million miles away from one that we unanimously supported around about 14 months ago when I was a member of the Fire Authority. And I did have a conversation with the FBU before I came here over the appliance numbers, and they convinced me and my colleagues to support that motion because it directly affected boroughs. What this one does, but this one's different. And the reason this motion is different is that there's a sheer lack of information in just rejecting the proposals. Now, bringing into the comments about the Conservative Party, in my opinion, I don't think that this motion should be confused with a Conservative government when, as I said 14 months ago, Lynn Brown, who was the Labour's Shadow Prime Minister, clearly stated that if Ed Miliband was successful as Prime Minister, there would be no additional funding to the fire service. It's important to note that she said additional funding, but then the funding set 5 years in advance. So there was no suggestion there
that they were going to cut back or include more funding. And obviously, if there was, why didn't she say it? I don't think she said it because she couldn't afford it. And that's the problem with Labour. They say that they don't like cuts, but they don't really explain how they're going to pay for it. You can pay for it. You can increase taxes. You can go to residents and ask them if they want to pay more. But I never see that. And it's all good and well asking for a requisition vote. But if any Labour member stands and puts their name in supporting this motion, they're also rejecting the comments made by the former shadow White Minister.
You can't hit on this for me. We don't know what this will mean specifically. Having a one-page cut-down document given us to by the Madam Deputy Mayor, which I'm certainly grateful for, outlines obviously what the consultation is. Basically, this is the consultation. One of these three choices, there is none of the above. But Councillor Jones, quite rightly, is holding a public meeting where we'll be holding the Fire Brigade to account and asking these questions. He's invited members to go along. So if we all go along, under obviously Councillor Jones's invite, and we ask the questions that are relevant, and we walk away from there thinking, actually, this isn't a good thing for Thurrock, we would probably all be supporting this without any question. But at the moment, we don't know. And when we don't know, we're second guessing. And I don't want to second guess a member of the Fire Brigade, be it the Chief Fire Officer or the chap that turns up to put out the fire at your home. I can think back, and we're all old enough here to remember the past where there's been cuts to the fire service for whatever reasons, and stations closing, oh this will happen and that's happened. The Fire Brigade has survived. Houses not burning down on an hourly basis. We do move forward. We've heard that there are much safer homes and businesses now. The Fire Brigade do a huge amount of prevention work, which, as Councillor Jones also said, prevention is much better than cure. So where does that fit into this? And Councillor Kelly has just hit the nail on the head. It's all very good for Councillor Hughes to stand up and say, we can't cut this, we can't cut that, it's a public service, we should not be cutting it, as soon as we cut it, it's gone. Well, I'm sorry, his own shadow minister was saying there'll be no more money. If there's no more money, the only way they can make ends meet is by efficiencies. The police service was here all night saying, okay, we're actually going to get a little bit more money than we thought we would do than this year, but we're still going to have to make efficiency savings just to make ends meet. It's no different for the fire service. We do need change. This isn't the days of Pew, Barnum Group, cut the dibble grub. This is not Trumpton. This is not 1967. This is not the 1970s. This is not the 1980s. It's 2016. Change is needed. Unfortunately, this is the change that's being put in front of us. Until we've heard, obviously, via Councillor Jones's committee, what the true impact of this, I think I can't agree to it. But I would love to be able to see this come back if it's quite clear that Thurrock is at substantial risk from these cuts. And I would ask, if that is the case, that obviously our constitution, we turn a bit of a blind eye to the 6-month rule, and if that's brought back, that it's brought back so we can vote on it with the new information. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, I'd just like to echo pretty much what Councillor Geddy just said. It's an emotive issue, I get that, and I understand that people don't want to lose any equipment for the reasons that people to my right have said. But I also have to take on board what people to my left have said, is that actually, what do we know? We don't know very much. And as Councillor Bell just alluded to, we've got proposals, great, but we've got no details to the proposals. So you're looking at a list of things which, on the face of it, doesn't look fantastic, but we don't know at what angle the fire brigade can come at it. Do they think they can handle that? Do they think that covers all the bases? Are they happy with these options? We don't know. So I'm not going to vote on a motion where, to be frank, we just don't know what I'm voting on yet. Councillor Jones's committee's having a meeting with the fire brigade. I should be going on to that, asking questions, listening to the answers, and I agree with Councillor Bell that we should bring it back after then, if we need to, and go through the debate again. Thank you.
I do thank Councillor Stone for bringing this motion this evening, and I think the level of, I guess the test set out by the motion is whether or not we
feel moved to express our concerns at the situation. And I have to say, reviewing the 3 proposals put in front of us, that does give me enough cause for concern and cause for worry in terms of the effect on my community. As a West Thurrock and South Stifford councillor, I have more than my fair share of those coma sites that Councillor Stone mentioned. Have a large number of flats. I have a large, a large ward area where actually, if we do have multiple incidents at once, I do begin to worry on these proposals about our ability to respond to those kind of incidents. And Madam Mayor, it's been said that, in a sense, we should look at more detail, look for the more forensic review, and I think, of course, we always need to review further detail. We need to understand more depth. But actually, at the same time, those that don't, at this point in the financial cycle, those that don't stand up and speak loudly to protect their public services tend to find that while they're busy debating the finer points, they're the authorities that are losing these kind of services. So, Madam Mayor, we shouldn't run up the white flag and quietly wade through these kind of changes. We should make absolutely certain that we are there, making sure that we're protecting these valuable services for residents.
Thank you, Councillor George. Councillor
It's a
Dunn.
tick box exercise. They come there and they sit down there, and basically it was a very good presentation, but they go on and on about different variations, and then they're not quite sure themselves. But at the end of the day, it's going to be cuts. Now the thing is, I can't agree to these cuts. Not in Thurrock. Thurrock is a special. We're not Essex. As I keep going, everything goes on about Essex. As I keep on saying, we're not Thaxted, we're not Dunmow. You know, Thurrock is the industrial hub of Essex. It's got so much going on. A population of 160,000, which swells to 250,000 during the day when people come into work in the area. And bold accounts a 10% increase in population year upon year. We have the coma sites, we've got international docks, we've got the biggest port in Europe being built at the moment. As we know, we've got all, might be another crossing going through. As I said, that's the thing, we're letting them know now. Before they come back, we're just saying to Essex Fire Service and Rescue, this is how we feel now. Because realistically, they're going to come back. The consultation process has not been all that really. The public bit has been a bit online. Other than that, they've just been going around, sitting down in front of councils, telling them what they're going to be doing. On another point, Madam Mayor, I'm kind of glad that as Councillor Coxall, he's a spokesman for Thurrock Council at the Essex Fire Authority, having heard his opinions tonight, I'm kind of glad that he didn't turn up at these meetings. So this is what I'm saying. We've got loads and loads of schools, so we should be treated as a special case in Thurrock. We are part of Essex, but we are more than that. So anyway, I'm seconding the motion. I don't.
Just to say that also got called to 1,003 incidents last year, and that's an increase from 72 from the previous year. Thank you.
Good point.